into the ether and then into the cloud, the vital role of Ethernet. Camille Medler with her brand new hat as an informer person. And can the rest of the panel come on down as well, please, and join her?
Okay, I don't know. So I'm not sure if the people on the panel would agree that telecoms, and in particular fixed line telecoms, is an industry fading and in decline. Let me just throw that out to the panel for the moment.
Yeah, that this is one of the most exciting times in telecommunications and IT in a long time. If you think back, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, it was, too many service providers building networks without real applications. And today, the service providers are building networks to meet the demands of anytime, anywhere internet access being driven by consumers and business customers around the world.
I'd like to introduce Bernie Trudell, who is from Cisco. Some of you may have met him. What are your views? You're here in Asia, you've been here for a number of years. Would you say the telecoms industry is fading in decline when you consider Ethernet and cloud?
No, I think the opportunity in front of the telecoms industry is fantastic. And cloud does bring that, and Ethernet is a fundamental layer that's going to enable cloud services to be delivered to various consumers of cloud services.
If we actually look at Ethernet and cloud, it's all about access, right? And Ethernet started off, being more of a platform being used inside enterprises, right? And essentially the reason why it's been growing, the reason why you have mass adoption is because of low cost, simplicity, and high speeds, right? Mm. Yes.
But if we look at the telecoms industry today, there are still some issues to deal with. And I think this is the issue. It's the balancing act between the fact that most service providers have got to keep a tight control on costs, correct? And also try to innovate, to grow that top line. Another is, well, actually fear. There's a great deal of fear. How many of you actually own a tablet yet? Their adoption is unstoppable. And there's a consequence to that. This is a piece of work that we did recently on what the growth of mobile broadband traffic would be with the expected distribution of devices, smartphones, non-smartphones, and portable devices like tablets. You need to be prepared to grow, to be able to deal with that growth. These are the issues that cause some panic in the market. So what do we need to be successful and to survive in this market going forwards? We need just-in-time processes, all right? I think we can thank Toyota for that concept, correct? Just-in-time manufacturing, but now applied in a different way. So let me ask the panel, what is the issue that needs to be addressed, if you, number one on the list, to make this a just-in-time environment?
I think it goes back to, it's probably performance first, because if it doesn't work, if it doesn't perform to the quality of experience expectation of the end user, then that's the place you fundamentally have to start. And then the questions become tougher. If it performs, does it scale?
Right. Now, Spirent, I know, has been dealing at every layer, if you will, from a device layer, a software layer, to all of the different aspects of the delivery, the industrial delivery of the cloud. What do you think are how far are we from like a just-in-time process in terms of delivering cloud services? And what are the big issues?
Yeah, I think that, as been said already, I think the tools and technologies are there, whether it's the access piece of the network, whether it's the rollout of LTE, whether it's higher speed Ethernet with 40 and 100 gigabit, whether it's cloud computing services or virtualization. But as been said over the last couple of days, it's just in its infancy. That's the great news, is that we're just beginning this journey, and we have the technology or tools, as Bernie said, to roll that out. Now they've got to mature. Now,
I guess my question is Ethernet and cloud computing two of the key methodologies, technologies that are going to enable that service persistence and that reduce that latency problem to that application that might be consumed from that tablet, for instance?
Absolutely, and it will do that at a very competitive cost simply because of Ethernet being one of the lower cost, higher performance platforms.
And Ethernet seems to be adapting to a number of different conditions, correct? But it seems to me that every time there's a problem, Ethernet turns up to try to solve the solution. How well it does it is perhaps what we can debate.
If it's not good enough, we'll make it better. I think that's the cost piece of this. Because Ethernet is a technology, no one's come up with a solution that's lower cost, starting in the LAN, in the consumer environment, moving into the access and into the core of the network. I think it's allowed to evolve as a technology because of the cost. There's been nothing, no new technology that's been able to unseat Ethernet. It's been allowed to evolve, and the standards have changed over time to add synchronization for mobile backhaul, to add robustness for fiber channel over Ethernet, all driven by the lowest cost solution. And I think that it's good enough, but it's evolved into a much different Ethernet than we started with.
Kevin, I'd like to make another point here, and that is, it's also the standards, right? And Ethernet has been driving standards, the 802.1 standards, and it's been evolving. So it's not just that it's been haphazard and it's just been put together and cobbled together. It's been following a very, I would say, extensive roadmap in terms of development, in terms of adding new features, functionality, and extending the original Ethernet specifications.
Well, I think we also have to put Ethernet in its place in the whole stack, right? Ethernet is a layer 1, layer 2 technology. It's not a layer 7 and 8 technology, which cloud services are.
Right. And on the point of the relationship between Ethernet and cloud, if cloud components are being sold on a commodity spot market and Ethernet is being sold on a commodity exchange basis, why can't these two things merge? Why can't we have exchanges to get the basic components of cloud and Ethernet sold as a package together? Is that something you've thought about, Nan? With your other hat on of the CNEX, which is the Carrier Ethernet exchange.
Yeah, we certainly seen the emergence, not necessarily in the sense of you just talked about, but we do see the people who has been what I call the content providers or cloud providers. Those are the ones that you, through Carrier Ethernet exchanges, be able to provide to access the eyeballs of millions who as a service provider connecting at the exchanges. In our case, just quickly, that with all the aggregate number of service points, we have exceeded like 15 million, locations which you can accessible through exchanges. That's provided tremendous value to the cloud providers where they wanted to be able to access those potentially private cloud eyeballs. So we've seen that as a trend.
I would submit to you that unless you provide an end-to-end service to everyone, including the connectivity, you won't make any profit margin out of cloud computing. Bernie, would you like to comment on that? Either disagree or agree with that?
Actually, I agree with the premise. Compute as a service, as we were talking just a little earlier, is heading towards commoditization.
That's a cost-plus environment.
Right, but the opportunity for service providers is because they have the network in place and they have the ability to measure, they have the visibility on the network and the ability to control the quality of the experience to the end user, then that's how they can differentiate themselves and add value and therefore charge more.
Hi, I'm Tony Chan from ComState. One of the things I noticed that you talked about, one of the characteristics of cloud is that it's on demand and you can subscribe to resources as you need them, right? But the telco model of providing connectivity is completely different, right? You can get an Ethernet port and you can burst the traffic, but you probably have to sign a 1-year contract. If not, then you still need to subscribe to port, right? So you can't just say I want a gigi path for 2 minutes every Thursday afternoon. Right. So is that something that service providers perhaps need to kind of refigure their business model to?
I see the carriers. Well, we're really talking about the end users, the enterprises, right? So carriers are basically somewhat, when they provide Ethernet services, they have that opportunity. They have a platform to be able to deliver that on-demand services, and some of them are actually working on that. And I see there's maybe a handful of them start to actually deliver that services. But it has not really been combined with the cloud services, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, I'm afraid, having looked at many service providers' cloud offers, having audited quite a few, about 40 odd, I don't see much differentiation except price, and that's a concern to me.
Yeah,
and
I think
my great fear for all of the service providers is they're going to replace one problem with another. They're worried about being dumb pipes. They might be dumb clouds instead.
Absolutely. And so if you look at the cloud services, we didn't talk about, all the aspects of cloud. We talked about IaaS, then there is the software as a service. That's when you start having a little bit more stickiness because they're using an application.
More stickiness, but you also have to share the revenue with a Salesforce.com or a Google.
Right. Then there's platform as a service, and the final play is business process as a service, right? The BPaaS. And that is where the company is actually outsourcing its internal business processes onto the cloud.
And those business processes are going to be different by industry. And I think that's probably the next thing I would say is be careful about that dumb cloud. Maybe the key issue is to look at what specific customer needs are in particular industries. And that's really where we ought to drive the market.